Good morning, Goodwin family. This is Pastor Mac. I so dearly miss you this morning at 8:30 service in Sunday school. But I figured, hey, since I'm here, we might as well do a brief synopsis of today's Sunday school lesson. If you look at your book, Precepts for Living, we are in week 21, which talks about courage. And the focus scripture or story for today comes from the book of Jeremiah. That's right, the weeping prophet Jeremiah, who in chapter 38, King Zedekiah calls him in and asks Jeremiah to tell him the truth. But like Jack Nicklaus once said, some people can't handle the truth. Jeremiah tells the king, says, hey, if I tell you the truth, you'll want to kill me. But he tells him anyway. He's apprehensive because some people don't want to hear the truth. Some people don't want to hear the truth in love. But he tells the truth anyway because he's a man of God who has to speak with us, saith the Lord. And here's some lessons we can learn from this. One, when you truly love somebody, love them enough to tell them the truth. But even if you don't fully love somebody, love yourself enough to tell them the truth. Care enough about the truth and what God truly says to share the truth with people. In this particular case, what was the truth? The truth was that if King Zedekiah would surrender to the Babylonian army, he would live. Even though all of these false prophets told him you will win, Jeremiah tells him the truth. If you go to battle, you'll lose. False prophets, hundreds of false prophets telling King Zedekiah he'll win, but Jeremiah telling him the truth. If you go to battle, you will lose. Of course, King Zedekiah doesn't listen to the prophet Jeremiah. Majority, I guess, rules, but sometimes people just like their ego stroked rather than to hear the truth. And of course, we hear of the calamity that happens to Zedekiah, but I also want to share with you what also happens to Jeremiah. Jeremiah gets thrown into a cistern, a deep well with no water, just mud, and he's beginning to sink. But as he is about to die, he's left with no water, no food, he's about to die. God uses an Ethiopian brother by the name of Ebed-Melech, who goes to the king, which is risky within itself, but he advocates for justice. And as Ebed-Melech advocates for justice, the king says, go forth, you can go rescue Jeremiah. Ebed-Melech gets some people, but he also brings some old rags. And what he does, he ties these old rags to a rope, and as he lowers down the rope, he tells Jeremiah to put the rope in between his armpits and on his back so that as he's being lifted up, he's not hurt. Child of God, when we try to help people, we should not hurt them in the process. This is a beautiful metaphor, and I like the fact that he used some old rags who had been used before. They were sturdy, they were strong, and even though they were old, they still could be used. Child of God, no matter how old you are, God can still use you. And even if you may feel like a filthy rag, as all of our righteousness is filthy rags, God can use you. Even if you feel like you've been worn out, you're tired, God is not through with you yet. Somebody ought to be encouraged. I know this is Sunday school. I'm not supposed to be preaching, but my soul's getting happy just thinking about this story. And so Jeremiah gets lifted up out of the cistern. He was thrown in there to die, and he remains in the court. Fast forward, Babylonians come, and just as the Lord said through the prophet Jeremiah, the enemy destroys Jerusalem. But there's some good news. One, the Lord speaks to Jeremiah, says, you shall live. Jeremiah leaves with several other exiles and goes to Egypt. That's right, he goes to Africa, where people are worshiping God and believing God. I keep saying this in this Black History Month. Don't let people tell you that Christianity or the faith that we believe in, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, was just made up during slavery. No, our people have loved God for quite some time. And so Jeremiah goes to worship with the people who already believe in God in Egypt. And God sends a promise to Ebed-Melech. Because of your courage and your faithfulness in a time of adversity and a time of injustice, you too shall live, you and your people. And so here's the lesson for today. When you see wrong, speak up. As Homeland Security says, if you see something, say something. And if you have the courage and the confidence in God to do what's right, even in a time of injustice, even when leadership or politicians are all about injustice, God will take care of you. If you believe that, give a like give a heart. If you're watching via Facebook, show us some love. Share this post. If you're watching via YouTube, make sure you subscribe. We love you with the love of Christ. Be courageous. Have a great week. See you at 10:45. God bless.